Bitcoin is finally seeing some bullish structure. I'm going to talk about the most important resistance line, which if we break, I'm thinking Bitcoin can actually give us a new all-time high if we break this level and hold it as support. Let's get right into the analysis, guys, because I also want to talk about an important idea of a long before hitting this major resistance line. I'm going to talk about the resistance line, but before that, let me talk about what Bitcoin is doing right now. As you can see, if you go to the 4-hourly time frame, we can clearly see that Bitcoin has finally managed to bounce from this important support line, which we've been talking about for a couple of weeks, to be honest, since Bitcoin had lost $16,000, $116,000. I was talking about Bitcoin and the possibility of Bitcoin falling down and dropping down to hit this important support resistance line. As you can see, this is a major confluence for support. As you can see, Bitcoin previously in the month of July and also June had found huge resistance in that area, and I told you guys that technically it's a very reasonable thing to wait for Bitcoin once we broken out $150,000, once we lost that level, to wait for a major drop on Bitcoin and then start to look for buys at the $110,000 to $107,000, which you can see right now, which actually happened right now. Bitcoin has finally been bouncing from that level. And also, if I go to the 1-hourly time frame, we can see that clearly Bitcoin has been making some bullish structure that hasn't been done since we first created the all-time high. As you can see, we had the all-time high been done on the mid of August. As you can see, after that we've been making lower highs and lower lows. However, right now, if we go to the 30-minute time frame, we can clearly see that Bitcoin has finally been changing the structure on the lower time frame. We can clearly see that Bitcoin has made this low and then started creating some highs and higher lows, as you can see. So technically Bitcoin is a bit bullish right now on the lower time frame. And also, I just wanted to share that Bitcoin, if I go also to the 4-hourly time frame, we can clearly see that not only Bitcoin bounced from this important support area on the daily time frame, but also it's currently bouncing. As you can see, it currently faked out this low. As you can see, technically this is the low of the range, which was actually some resistance previously. Now Bitcoin is getting back to it, as you can see. So technically we can see that, we can say that this, what happened under $112,000, could be technically a deviation from the lows, taken from the lows, and then actually we can look to flip it much higher. So technically we're seeing some bullish signs, to be honest. We first hit the most important green zone, which we talk about, and then we saw some bullish structure on the lower time frame, and also lastly we are right now back above this channel, this resistance and support line channel. As you can see, we're holding back above $112,000. So technically we are seeing some bullish signs. So let me now tell you about a long idea I might be taking based on this idea of us flipping this line at $112,000 from resistance, as you can see, back towards back to it being support, as we've seen lastly or from previous times. So let me share this idea of a long that could actually happen within minutes or hours from me dropping this video. As I've told you guys, are now technically $112,000 is technically a support. So I'm looking for a long at around this area of $111,500. As you can see, based, if I go to the 5-minute time frame, we can see that I've got this anchored view up. Basically, this is a tool that if you put it from the beginning of a bull trend, it shows you, or the uptrend, as you can see, it shows you if this uptrend is still intact or not. If I make this anchored view up more visible, as you can see, we clearly started and found some perfect support. To be honest, we could have had multiple long ideas and chances setups from these anchored view up, or from this anchored view up. So technically I'm waiting for a drop right now on Bitcoin. If it happens, could give us actually a nice long to be had, us finding support at the anchored view up and then going back above $112,000. This is technically a long I'm looking at, because I feel that Bitcoin has the possibility today to go back above to this important resistance line that I'm gonna talk about in right now. As you can see, this is a major important resistance line that I feel that Bitcoin on the lower time frame is targeting this major level, either bouncing and going at the highs right now, or giving us or allowing us for this amazing long setup before going to $115,000. Either way, I'm still looking for higher targets on the lower time frame. However, before I flip super bullish on Bitcoin, yes, I've said that Bitcoin right now is bouncing from this great green zone. Yes, Bitcoin has flipped this $112,000, the low of the channel. However, I've got an important resistance line that I need to see Bitcoin break before calling a new all-time high on Bitcoin, which which is actually this $115,000. As you can see, I've got a confluence of resistance, multiple ideas for resistance at that level. We firstly got this anchored VWAP, which shows us the anchored or the downtrend made from the all-time high. We can clearly see that this was a major resistance line that has been not allowing Bitcoin to increase in price since we made an all-time high, I think 15 days ago. So technically we need to break this level. Also, I've got this NPUC at $115,000 point one, and the value area low. If we take this volume profile pull from since we've broken out $110,000 to the current price action, we can see that we've got this value area low sitting at around $114,500. So we can clearly see that we got a confluence of resistance. Bitcoin right now has been making or shifting the breakout structure into bullish. However, to say or call for new all-time highs on Bitcoin, I need this level to be broken. As you can see, this is the current important resistance line. Yes, I'm looking right now to target this area. However, at the area, if say I take a long on Bitcoin at $111,000, $111,500 today, and then I'm going to be targeting this area because I feel that there's a high possibility of us testing that area then. However, I might be looking into either shorting this area if we get a bad reaction. However, if we break this level and turn it into support, then I'm going to be officially calling, to be honest, on a new all-time high on Bitcoin. So yes, technically you don't have to be longing the exact low on Bitcoin, but being patient, waiting for this important level at $115,000 to be broken, turning into from resistance into support, then we can actually take this high or take this area as long idea from $115,000 back above the all-time high, maybe possibly even targeting $130,000. So technically, yes, Bitcoin has been giving us some bullish nice signs. However, the last sign to be very sure I'm very bullish on Bitcoin is to break $115,000. Thanks for watching, guys.